Yes, okay, thank you. Yeah, I just met with Mr. President, and first of all, I wish him a happy New Year. And we I also seized the opportunity to discuss matters surrounding the security situation within Niger State. Recently, we have been experiencing influx of bandits from neighboring states, and even though our security agencies are doing their best, but I think I found it necessary to update Mr. President on the situation with regards to security. So we had a very fruitful discussion, and he also pledged more support to the state when it comes to security matters, so that hopefully within the shortest possible time we'll address most of these security challenges. We also discussed the state of infrastructure, especially roads within Niger State. At the moment, 80%, if not more, of the traffic from south passes through Niger State, especially through Mina, the state capital. Over time, we have experienced weakness in some of our culverts and bridges, and roads have been seriously destroyed because of weight of trucks. So we try to encourage truckers to carry a maximum of 30 tons or 32 tons. That should be able to keep our roads functional for some time. However, the state of all the roads in Niger State is in a deplorable condition. So there is need for federal intervention. Most of the roads are federal roads, but because the federal roads are, our trailers have resorted to using state roads. So most of the federal and state roads at the moment have become really very bad. So we discussed that as well, and I hope before the rainy season something will be done about it. The situation is very bad. Niger is 73,000 square kilometers. It's the size of the entire south-south or southeast. So first of all, we have a limited number of security personnel. I think we have to start looking at increasing the numbers so that we're able to cover most of the local governments within the state. Some of our local governments are up to 7,000 square kilometers, one local government. For example, the Bobi Grazing Reserve, which is a program between the state government, CB, and federal government, where we are encouraging herders to move their cattle so that they stop movement of cattle from one location to the other to avoid herders-farmers conflict, has become a target, because that is about the only location now where you can go and in one constitution see 5,000 or 6,000 heads of cows. So most of the bandits have started focusing their attention in the Bobi Grazing Reserve, which I also discussed with the president. Because we have investors that have started investing money in terms of equipment, in terms of milk processing facilities, we do not want to discourage them. So we applied most of our resources and efforts towards protecting the grazing reserve, and I am pleased to let you know that yes, at the moment the grazing reserve is protected, so to say. But yes, we're having influx of bandits from neighboring states, especially Zamfara State and from Kaduna State. It is difficult to patrol those areas because vehicles do not go there, and they're deep in the forest. So it means we will need the federal might, especially the Air Force operations, which, by the way, the Air Force have been doing extremely well in recent times to support our ground operations. I have no doubt in my mind that once, with a little support with regards to personnel, it's mostly personnel, so that we're able to deploy them in various parts of the state, especially, again, our border with Benin Republic. This is new. We recently started experiencing influx of bandits through Benin Republic border. We never used to experience that before. And they find the national park very attractive. The national park alone is 5,000 square kilometers. So it's a good cover for bandits. But again, like I said, with the limited resources we're having, we're doing everything we can to to see that we secure lives and properties. We've lost a few people. We still have people being kidnapped. Even today, we have probably not less than 10 people being kidnapped. But most times, we're able to recover them. So I believe there is a great value in working with the federal authorities towards addressing these security challenges. To be honest, even when the process of negotiation was being advised, I never recommended or agreed to it. I have attended one meeting where the bandits were there, and I cannot imagine myself as a state governor and chief security officer of a state sitting down negotiating with bandits. They have never been honest in their talks. Even when they were given the opportunity, they break the agreement. And when bandits say they will surrender their arms and they don't ask for anything in return, then you can tell that it's not an honest negotiation, because someone that is used to carrying arms to go and rob is now telling you he would drop his arms without asking for anything in return. So I don't think there's any sincerity in that. So I've never subscribed to that negotiation. In any case, the bandits are mostly Fulanis that have no one to control them. Even their parents cannot control them. So we call them bandits, but these are common criminals. They're armed robbers. So I don't see how someone that is used to robbing at gunpoint or killing, I don't see how that person would say, okay, let's go to a negotiating table, I will drop my arms and I will just move on with my life without asking for some kind of support as an alternative to their activity. So I tried it once, reluctantly. It never worked. So I don't think, unless I see some evidence of sincerity, but I really am not interested in such negotiations. Important question, because the dynamics of the criminal activity has changed. I mean, they started with armed robbery, then they moved to cattle rustling, now they now moved to kidnapping, all as a means of getting money. But recently, the trend has changed. They've started burning farms and killing animals. So this has given me some concerns, and at the same time, it's kept me thinking, what is the motive? I can understand if you kidnap, you rob, or say you're doing for money. But when you burn farms, then there's something else happening. Or when you kill animals, we've had instances where they go to villages and they kill animals. They don't steal them, or they kill them, or they burn farms. So if you stop people from going to farm, it means you're trying to deprive that nation of food security. So why would someone want to deprive a whole nation of food security? Niger has the capacity of feeding the entire country. We have the water bodies for dry season farming. We produce a lot of rice, a lot of maize, and everything. But this year, I think I'm worried, because this year most of the farmers did not get the opportunity to go and harvest, even when they planted. So the bandits touch the farms. You know, now the corn is dry, the maize is dry. They just burn everything. So back to your question, yes, this is the kind of I think it's also one of the most serious one, because it does not affect Niger alone this time around. It affects the entire country. So when we're not able to feed ourselves as a nation, then it becomes a major challenge. So this is the kind of mayhem that being installed on the local people, and I have been discussing this. We have noted this down. We have been able to address one of the mayhem, because at some point they stopped farmers from going to farms until they pay ransom. So what they will do, they will go to a community and say, to allow you go to farm, you have to pay some money. That has been addressed to some certain extent because we're able to identify their camps, and those camps have been destroyed to a certain extent. So most of the farmers, especially around the Marega area, have returned to their farms. But we are not out of the woods yet. Like I said, they come in pockets this time around, and on daily basis you have 5-6 different attacks. Again, I think one of the most important things, you cannot attach any value to human life. It's valueless. It's a lot of value that you can't say this is the value of someone's life, and they kill innocent people. Now, when you go to rob people and you rob them and you leave them alive or uninjured is one thing, but when you go and you just kill, that also sends a very terrible signal. So there is serious mayhem being caused by these bandits. Yes, let me again, this is a good question. Let me tell you what has worked so far, and we've made a lot of progress. Like you said, what I have done, I moved the responsibility of security to the community level, and at the community level they know themselves. And like you mentioned, the vigilantes being controlled by the local government or sometimes by the Ministry for Local Government have been doing very well. For so many reasons. One, they are defending their farmlands, they are defending their families. It's different when you send someone from somewhere. The enthusiasm to really fight and motivate people to protect the environment is usually better when you deal with the locals. So, yes, back to your question, I found the locals or security at the lowest level very, very helpful. But again, one major challenge that we found out, in some cases, the locals have adopted to this kind of business. That's, I think, and that's even more difficult. Then the bandits are being invited by some locals. In fact, we've arrested some village heads. Now, if a whole village head invites bandits or harbors bandits, then where are we headed to? The village head is supposed to secure the village. So we're going to be very ruthless with any village head found wanting in this regard, because there's no way we can make progress if the traditional institution at the lowest level forms part of it. And I've been in discussions with the emirs, the first-class emirs, to dethrone or to strip any villager of his appointment once being caught. So going forward with the efforts of Nigerian police, with the community policing, with the local vigilantes, if you have them across the entire state, even though they are not properly armed, but we've lost quite a few vigilantes. You cannot compare somebody with Dane gun and somebody carrying AK-47 or AK-49. But they are determined to protect their families and their farmlands. So we've seen some results, some success when it comes to local vigilantes, and I think we should give them more support so that they will do more, because the traditional military and police we have, their numbers are limited. They cannot cover the entire state, so they need the support of vigilantes to augment their efforts. And in some cases, the vigilantes and the hunters act as a guide to our forces, because they understand the forest. Like Niger, for example, we have a lot of caves, we have a lot of mountains. Bringing someone from somewhere may not understand the dynamics or the terrain. So most of these bandits usually get the high ground so that they're able to see anyone coming towards them. But using the local people, you're able to find ways around it. So I believe we can have a very robust, strong partnership between the local people you mentioned, and the military. Now, in one particular case, and I always tell our security agents when they make arrests to study the minds of the bandit and to ask why. But in one particular case, we arrested bandits that are foreigners from as far as Sudan or Mali, and they came on motorcycles, and they are being recruited through social media, through Facebook, sometimes in some cases, and because they confess to this. So, in my own opinion, the banditry activity differs from place to place. Some are cattle rustlers, some believe they are fighting some kind of jihadist activity, some believe they are fighting thieves, corruption. They see any uniformed person as corrupt, or any public officer or any political head as corrupt. So when you ask them, you get different responses or different answers. Either ways, we have a problem. For whatever the reason is a major problem, and it must stop. My discussion with the president was very fruitful. He showed his concern. He has always shown concern when it comes to such activities, especially when it affects lives and properties and agriculture. As you know, one of the main agenda of Mr. President is to see that we achieve food sufficiency as a nation. With this activity, that will be very difficult to achieve in some parts of the country. You have Niger, you have Kaduna, you have Katsina, you have Zamfara, and unfortunately these states produce a lot of agricultural produce. So he showed his concerns, and I think we spoke heart to heart, and he also comforted me by telling me that yes, whatever support required will be done. Most of the support will come from high-tech equipment, really, because most of these bandits are in areas where you cannot even go on motorcycles or vehicles. So high-tech equipment means high-tech surveillance equipment that is able to identify and detect the exact location and position of the camps, so that our forces are able to go straight to the point. But if, for example, you're searching for 100 people in a 5,000 square kilometer forest, it's just like a drop in an ocean. Where do you even start from? And the most logical thing to do is to use technology, to go high tech. It may be more expensive, but I think it's worth it. So these are the kind of areas where I hope the federal government can support. We have also use some of our resources to order some drones, but then again, even when you order drones, you need support of the federal government because you have to get end user certificate, you have to get the documentation. Takes a long process. Our drone has been ready for almost 3 months now. We're not able to bring it because of our documentation issues. So these are the kind of interventions we'll seek support, so that we get at least, if the state government is able to use part of its resources to buy such equipment, the least we can get from federal government is to see that the process does not take long, because whatever efforts we're doing is to support the federal agencies, the military. So we're just supporting. These are the kind of things I want to see going forward. We'll get some support and understanding of the federal government. Thank you very much.